Beloved friends, today I want to talk to you about something that may surprise you. We are speaking not of money, not of health, not of success, but of color. Yes, color, for color has power, color has voice. Color can build an atmosphere in your home, and color can tear it down. Now, there are many beautiful colors. The bright yellow of the morning sun, the soft blue of the evening sky, the fresh green of the spring leaves. These colors give life. They give peace. They open the heart. But there is one color you must never use in your home. That color is the color of despair, the color of hopelessness, the color of a spirit without light. You ask me, what is that color? Teacher, it is not simply black or white, red or blue. No, it is deeper. It is the color that drains your spirit, that steals your joy, that reminds you of sorrow again and again. For some, despair comes in gray walls, heavy and dull. For others, it is a dark red, always reminding of pain. For another, it may be a pale, sickly yellow, taking away strength. The one color you must never use is the color that paints your heart with hopelessness. Your home is more than wood and paint. Your home is the temple of your family. It is where children laugh, where mothers pray, where fathers dream. Do not clothe your home in despair. Do not let the walls preach hopelessness to your soul every day. Instead, fill your home with light. Choose the colors of life, the colors of hope, the colors that lift your spirit to dream again. Even if you have little, even if your walls are simple, let them shine with faith, with joy, with love. Beloved, you may not be able to change the world outside, but you can change the world inside your home. Remove the color of despair. Paint your life with hope. That is the one color you should never use in your home. Color shapes atmosphere and spirit in the home. From the moment a person steps into a room, before a word is spoken, before a gesture is made, the colors surrounding them begin to speak. They whisper to the heart. They sing to the soul. They even weigh upon the mind. A house may be filled with fine furniture, expensive decoration, or the latest technology, but if the colors chosen carry a heavy spirit, then the entire home begins to carry that same heaviness. Color is not just paint on the wall, not just fabric on a chair, not just patterns on a curtain. Color is a silent messenger, one that enters the eyes and goes straight into the emotions. It has the power to lift up or to press down, to calm or to agitate, to strengthen or to weaken. When children wake up in the morning, the colors they see in their room become the first sermon of the day. When parents return after long hours of work, the colors of the living room preach either comfort or fatigue. Even when a guest comes into the home, before they feel the hospitality of the host, they feel the welcome or rejection of the colors. This is why we cannot treat color as something trivial. We cannot simply say, it is only a matter of taste. It is far deeper than taste. It touches the very spirit. Think of the way nature teaches us this truth. Look at the sky after a storm when the clouds break open and blue shines through. The heart suddenly feels free. Look at the green of the field in spring, fresh and alive. It seems to invite you to rest, to walk, to breathe deeply. Look at the golden glow of the setting sun, and immediately the mind grows calm. The soul becomes reflective and peace descends. These are not accidents. They are examples of how color is tied to life, to breath, to emotion, to spirit. If the Creator has woven such power into the colors of nature, how much more carefully should we choose the colors we bring into our homes? A house may be large or small, rich or simple, but color can make it feel either open and alive or closed and suffocating. Bright, gentle tones can make even a tiny room seem spacious, while heavy, lifeless shades can make a large room feel narrow and empty. This shows that atmosphere is not about size, not about cost, but about the spirit created through color. Parents may say they want peace in their home, yet they cover their walls with shades that agitate the nerves. They may say they want joy, yet they surround themselves with tones that whisper sorrow. They may pray for strength, yet they live daily in an atmosphere that drains their energy. What they do not realize is that their choice of color is preaching to them day after day. It is shaping their mood. It is guiding their thoughts. It is teaching their children. Without a word spoken, Color is giving instruction to the soul. Consider the story of a child who studies in a room painted with dull, heavy tones. Every day the child sits down with books, yet before even beginning, the spirit already feels tired. Concentration is harder, energy is weaker. The child does not know why, but the walls themselves are pressing down on the mind. Now imagine another child studying in a room of light, airy color, where the walls seem to breathe. Even when the subject is difficult, the atmosphere encourages perseverance. This is not imagination. This is the real effect of color on the spirit. The same truth applies to relationships within the family. When the atmosphere of the home is filled with colors that breathe warmth, conversation flows more freely, laughter comes more easily, burdens feel lighter. But when the home is clothed in tones that carry a heavy or lifeless message, silence grows stronger, distance grows wider, small conflicts become bigger, and hearts feel tired even without cause. Color sets the stage for harmony or tension. Think of how the human heart responds to certain colors instinctively. A bright, pure white calls forth thoughts of clarity and new beginnings. A calm blue calls for rest and serenity. A rich green speaks of growth and renewal. But a dull, lifeless gray often pulls down the spirit into weariness. A harsh, oppressive red may call forth feelings of anger or agitation. These responses are not learned from textbooks. They are built into the soul. Just as taste buds react to sweetness or bitterness, the eyes react to color, and the reaction goes straight to the heart. The wise person does not ignore these reactions, but takes them seriously, especially when shaping the place where family life unfolds every day. The wise parent knows that the home is not only a shelter from rain and wind, but a sanctuary for the soul. Every wall, every corner, every piece of cloth becomes part of that sanctuary, and color is the language it speaks. A sanctuary must be filled with life-giving words, not words that drain away strength. Imagine walking into a hospital room where the walls are painted with a fresh, hopeful tone. Even though the patient is weak, even though pain is present, there is a silent encouragement that healing can come. Now imagine walking into another hospital room where the walls are covered in a dull, lifeless shade. Even the strongest spirit can feel weakened. This shows that color is not decoration, it is medicine or poison, depending on the choice. Color also shapes memory. Many people, when they remember their childhood, recall not only the faces and voices, but the atmosphere of the rooms where they lived. They remember the brightness or dullness of the walls, the warmth or coldness of the tones. Those colors became part of their story. They shaped how the child experienced love, safety, joy, or sadness. What parents choose today will live on in the memory of their children tomorrow. The walls may be painted over again and again, but the spirit of those colors lingers in memory for a lifetime. To understand the weight of this truth, think of how a single flower placed in the right color of vase can change the feeling of an entire room. One bright bloom against a warm backdrop becomes a message of life. That same bloom against a dull, lifeless backdrop can feel lonely and withered. If such a small detail can carry such a difference, how much more the wide canvas of walls and ceilings that surround us every day. Color is a teacher, a preacher, a silent friend, or a silent enemy. It is never neutral, it is always shaping, always influencing, always working upon the atmosphere of the home and upon the spirits of those who live inside it. This is why we must treat it not as trivial, but as sacred, for it touches the invisible part of life, the unseen heart of the family. The one color to avoid is the color of despair. Despair is not simply a shade that we can point to with our finger and say, here it is, this one, avoid it. Despair is a condition of the spirit, and when that condition is translated into color, it becomes a constant reminder of heaviness, a constant presence that presses down upon the atmosphere of a home. To live surrounded by it is to breathe in hopelessness each day, often without realizing it. The walls speak silently, the furniture echoes the same message, and even the smallest details carry the tone of despair, shaping the environment into one that steals joy rather than nurtures it. When we speak of despair as a color, we do not mean that despair is always black or gray or dark. For one person, Despair may wear the face of a cold gray wall that looks lifeless no matter how the sunlight falls upon it. For another, despair might come through a heavy red that constantly agitates the spirit, reminding them of anger or old wounds. For another, despair may hide in a pale, faded yellow that brings no cheer, only fatigue. The outward shade differs, but the inner message is the same. It tells the soul that life has no light, no freshness, no hope. This is why despair is the one color that should never be given a place in the home. Homes are not only built with wood and stone, they are built with atmosphere, with spirit, with feeling. Each room is like a container that holds memories, dreams, and emotions. Despair, when it takes color and enters a room, fills that container with sorrow. It does not shout, it whispers. It does not strike suddenly, it lingers. Over time, the presence of despairing color becomes normal, and the family may not even realize how it has been shaping their lives. Children growing up in such an environment may not understand why they feel weary or uninspired, but their souls are quietly absorbing the message of despair every day. Despair is dangerous because it does not only live in the eye, it enters into the heart. A person who surrounds themselves with despairing tones may find it harder to smile, harder to laugh, harder to dream. They may sit in a chair and wonder why they feel so heavy, not knowing that the very walls around them are reinforcing that heaviness. The human heart is sensitive, more sensitive than many realize. And when it is constantly surrounded by the language of despair, it begins to echo that language in thought, in mood, in spirit. When despair enters the home, it begins to shape relationships. Conversations become shorter, laughter less frequent, conflicts harder to resolve. The color of despair does not encourage togetherness, it isolates. It does not lift up burdens, it adds invisible weight. A family living under the shadow of despair may find that small troubles become great mountains, that hope becomes harder to grasp, that dreams for the future feel unrealistic. The color has become more than paint or fabric, it has become a silent teacher, always reminding the family of limits, always pointing to what cannot be done, always pulling attention to what is broken. It is true that life brings its share of hardship. No home is free from sorrow, no family is without struggle. But despair is not the same as hardship. Hardship is an experience, despair is a condition. Hardship may come and go, but despair tries to stay. Hardship may strengthen the spirit when faced with courage, but despair weakens it because it tells the soul that nothing will change. When despair is given a color inside the home, it makes hardship heavier because every glance at the walls or every step into the room reminds the spirit of that heaviness. In many traditions, light has always been the symbol of hope and darkness the image of despair. But in daily life, despair is not always dark. It can be pale, washed out, empty of life. It can masquerade as simplicity or neutrality, yet it carries no spark, no freshness, no warmth. This is why people must learn to listen with their spirit when they choose the colors of their home. The eye may say, this shade looks fashionable, this design looks modern, but the heart may whisper, there is no life here, there is only emptiness. That whisper is the warning that the color is one of despair. Despair is the one color to avoid because it attacks the very center of what a home should be. A home is meant to be a place of rest, but despair removes rest. A home is meant to be a place of growth, but despair halts growth. A home is meant to be a place of love, but despair drains love. Even if the furniture is costly, even if the design is impressive, if despairing tones fill the space, the spirit will not find comfort there. A palace dressed in despair is no better than a prison. When despair rules the environment, even sunlight cannot fully break through. The morning rays may pour into the window, but the walls clothed in despair do not reflect joy, they swallow it. Guests may bring laughter into the room, but after they leave, the silence becomes even heavier because the atmosphere itself does not carry joy. This shows that despair is not only felt in the moment, but it lingers, it stays, it resists change. That is why it must never be allowed into the home. Children, especially, are sensitive to the presence of despair. They may not have words to describe it, but their behavior shows it. In a despair-filled room, a child may grow restless, irritable, or quiet. Their creativity may shrink, their curiosity may fade, their laughter may become less frequent. Parents may not realize the connection, but the environment is shaping the child more than the lectures or instructions ever could. A child raised in an atmosphere of despairing color learns to see the world through that same tone, and their future vision is clouded by it. Adults, too, suffer under despair. A person who dreams of new opportunities but returns each evening to a despairing environment finds that their dreams slowly lose strength. They may begin to accept limits that are not real, to believe in impossibilities that are only illusions. They may stop trying, not because they lack ability, but because their spirit is weighed down day after day. The color of despair has become a constant background, a silent thief that robs strength little by little. Even in times of joy, despairing colors can undermine celebration. A birthday gathering in such an environment feels less bright, less alive. A holiday meant for cheer feels muted. This is because atmosphere and spirit are always connected, and despairing tones refuse to allow joy to rise freely. They act as chains, keeping celebration tied down, keeping hope from soaring. This is why the one color never to use in the home is despair. It is not about fashion, it is not about trends, it is not about personal taste. It is about the spirit of the family, the health of the soul, the future of those who live inside the walls. Despair may look harmless as paint on a brush or fabric on a chair, but once it takes its place, it becomes a constant presence, always reminding, always draining, always shaping the heart toward hopelessness. Despair steals joy and hope from daily life. Joy is the strength of the heart, the freshness of the morning, the laughter that comes even without reason. Hope is the vision of tomorrow, the light that guides the steps, even when the road is uncertain. When joy and hope are present, life becomes lighter, work becomes meaningful, burdens become easier to carry. But despair, like a silent thief, enters quietly and takes away these treasures without announcement. It does not need to shout. It does not need to break the door. It only settles in the atmosphere, in the colors, in the tone of the home, and slowly drains away what gives life meaning. When despair comes into a person's life, it robs them of joy first. Joy is not simply a moment of laughter. Joy is the state of the heart that sees goodness even in small things. It is the ability to find gratitude in the morning sun, to smile at the sound of children playing, to take delight in a simple meal shared with family. Despair covers the eyes so that these things are no longer seen. The morning sun rises, but it feels ordinary. The children laugh, but the sound feels distant. The meal is eaten, but without taste. Despair steals not by removing the event, but by removing the ability to feel it. It empties life of its sweetness. Once joy is stolen, despair moves toward hope. Hope is the strength that looks forward, that believes in tomorrow, that trusts that something better is possible. A person with hope can endure hardship because they know it is not permanent. They can face obstacles because they believe there is a way through. Despair whispers the opposite. It says nothing will change. It says tomorrow will be the same as today. It says dreams are useless, efforts are wasted, the future is closed. And when that voice is believed, the spirit sits down and refuses to rise. The body may still move, the hands may still work, but the inner life is already defeated. This theft of joy and hope does not always happen suddenly. Sometimes despair enters little by little. A difficult season of life, a disappointment, a loss, and the heart begins to feel heavy. Instead of healing, despair plants itself and grows roots. Days become filled with routine but not with meaning. The home becomes filled with activity but not with warmth. Even smiles become shallow because beneath them is the quiet heaviness of hopelessness. Despair does not always appear dramatic. It often hides in ordinary things. A color on the wall that drains the spirit instead of lifting it. A pattern of words spoken in the home that always points to what is lacking, never to what is possible. A silence that fills the room not with peace, but with emptiness. These small things accumulate until the family begins to live as if joy is a luxury and hope is a dream for others, but not for them. Children who grow in such an environment learn early what despair teaches. They may become cautious in their dreams, afraid to imagine a better future because they have absorbed the belief that nothing changes. They may become quiet in their joy, hesitant to laugh too loudly, because the atmosphere around them does not welcome it. Without knowing why, they carry into their adult life a weight that does not belong to them. A message they never chose but silently received, that life is heavy, and joy and hope are fragile things that cannot be trusted. Adults too live under this theft. A father who once dreamed of building something great may lose his energy when despair convinces him that effort is wasted. A mother who once looked forward to the future of her children may begin to feel only fear that they will repeat the same struggles. A young person filled with ideas may lose their fire when the home atmosphere constantly whispers that nothing will work. Despair is not loud, but it is persuasive. It does not take away the physical ability to act, but it takes away the will to act, which is even more dangerous. In daily life, despair changes how time is experienced. A joyful heart feels that the day passes quickly because it is full. A hopeful heart feels that even difficulties are steps toward something meaningful. But a despairing heart feels every hour as a burden. The morning feels heavy. The afternoon drags on. The night brings no rest. Even small tasks feel overwhelming, not because they are large, but because the spirit has no strength left. Despair turns the flow of time into a prison where every day looks the same and every tomorrow feels empty. The presence of despair in the home can also make blessings invisible. A family may have enough food, but despair tells them it is not enough. They may have shelter, but despair makes them feel poor. They may have opportunities, but despair blinds them to see them. Gratitude cannot live where despair reigns, because despair always points to what is missing rather than what is given. In this way, despair steals not only future hope, but also present joy, turning abundance into lack and turning gifts into burdens. This theft reaches relationships as well. Joy is the oil that makes relationships smooth, and hope is the bridge that keeps them moving forward. When despair takes these away, even small disagreements become walls. Couples may sit together in silence, not because they have nothing to say, but because despair has already convinced them that words will not heal. Parents may scold children harshly, not because the children are worse, but because despair has drained the patience needed for gentle guidance. Friends may stop visiting because the atmosphere of despair weighs them down. The house becomes full of people, yet empty of life. Despair's greatest danger is that it makes itself appear natural. A family living in despair for years may begin to think this is simply life. They may stop resisting it. They may stop even noticing it. But beneath the surface, despair has already stolen the treasures of the heart. What once was bright has become dim. What once was alive has become tired. What once was filled with dreams has become resigned. It is not wealth that despair steals first, nor health, nor possessions. It steals the inner fire, the ability to rejoice, the capacity to believe. When that is taken, even the greatest blessings seem small. And when joy and hope are lost, the spirit becomes like a lamp with no oil. The lamp may still stand, the form may still be visible, but the light is gone. Despair ensures that even in the brightest day, the heart feels night, and even in the season of harvest, the soul feels famine. Fill your home with colors of light, life, and hope. A home is more than a structure of walls and roof. It is the atmosphere that surrounds those who live within it. The colors chosen are not simply decoration, not simply taste or fashion, but the silent language that speaks to the soul each day. When a person enters a room clothed in light, their heart is almost without knowing why. When a child wakes in a space filled with life-giving tones, their spirit begins the day already encouraged. When a weary worker returns home to colors of hope, strength returns quietly and rest enters deeply. This is why filling the home with light, life, and hope is not a matter of luxury, but a matter of spirit. Colors of light carry with them the energy of daybreak, the sense that shadows have no power. Light tones open a room, making it feel spacious even if it is small, fresh even if it is old, clean even if it has endured many seasons. Light speaks to the heart of new beginnings, reminding the soul that each day is a gift, each morning a chance to start again. A wall clothed in brightness becomes more than paint. It becomes a silent sunrise that never fades. When family members gather in such a space, their faces seem brighter, their laughter flows more easily, their burdens feel lighter. Light has always been the sign of freedom, of clarity, of purity, and when brought into the home, it turns the ordinary into the uplifting. Colors of life are those that echo the beauty of nature. The green that reminds of grass after rain, the blue that recalls the calm of still waters, the warm tones of earth that remind the soul of stability and strength. Life-giving colors breathe freshness into the spirit, whispering that growth is possible, that renewal is always near. A child playing in a room filled with the colors of life feels an invisible encouragement to dream, to create, to imagine. Adults sitting in such a space feel a quiet rest, as if the walls themselves are telling them to breathe deeply and find balance again. Colors of life connect the soul with creation, and through creation with renewal. Colors of hope are the tones that inspire vision, that open the future rather than close it. They may be soft pastels that carry gentleness, or bright accents that carry joy. But whatever their shade, they speak the message that tomorrow can be brighter than today. Hopeful colors are not heavy, not suffocating, but uplifting, always pointing forward. A family that surrounds themselves with such colors finds it easier to talk about dreams, easier to plan for the future, easier to believe that difficulties are temporary. Hope in the walls becomes hope in the heart. Even during dark seasons, the environment itself whispers that the storm will pass, that light will return, that life will blossom again. The choice to fill the home with these colors is an act of planting seeds. Just as a gardener does not throw stones into the soil, but plants seeds that will grow into fruit, a family should not allow despairing tones into their home, but should choose colors that will grow into joy, peace, and vision. Each wall becomes like a field, and what is sown there will feed the soul every day. If seeds of despair are planted, sorrow grows. If seeds of life are planted, joy multiplies. The home becomes a garden of the spirit, and colors are the water, the sunlight, the nourishment of that garden. Even in the smallest spaces, this truth is powerful. A modest home painted with colors of light can feel more welcoming than a large house covered in tones of despair. Guests entering such a space feel warmth, not because of the size or the furniture, but because of the atmosphere. The family living there feels rich, not in possessions, but in spirit. Children grow with confidence, not because they are surrounded by wealth, but because they are surrounded by life. Colors are invisible wealth, an inheritance that cannot be measured in money, but in the health of the soul. When the home is filled with light, life, and hope, even hardships cannot fully break the spirit. Problems may arise, but the environment itself becomes a place of healing. The weary father finds strength again because the walls remind him of possibility. The mother carrying many burdens finds calm because the colors speak peace. The children facing challenges at school find encouragement because their rooms remind them that they are surrounded by beauty and possibility. The home becomes not only a place to live, but a place to recover, to be restored, to be lifted up again. Colors of light, life, and hope also shape memory. A child who grows up in such an atmosphere carries with them a foundation of joy. When they remember their childhood, they recall rooms filled with brightness, spaces that felt alive, corners that inspired imagination. Those memories shape how they view the world as adults. They enter life expecting beauty, believing in hope, trusting in possibility. The colors chosen today become the foundation of their tomorrow. Adults, too, carry these memories. Years later, when they recall their family home, the warmth of the colors remains like an embrace, reminding them that they were once surrounded by encouragement and that such encouragement can be built again wherever they go. Filling the home with light, life, and hope is not only for decoration but for protection. It guards the heart against despair. It shields the mind from weariness. It strengthens the bonds of family. It teaches silently every day without a word spoken. It creates an environment where gratitude grows easily, where laughter is welcome, where vision is nurtured. When a home is filled with such an atmosphere, even those who visit briefly carry away a piece of it in their spirit. They may not know why they feel lighter after leaving, but it is because they stepped into a place filled not with despair, but with joy, not with heaviness, but with hope. Every family deserves such an environment. Every person deserves to live in a space where the walls themselves seem to breathe encouragement. The power to create this is not far away, not unreachable. It is in the simple act of choosing carefully, of filling each corner with the tones that give life, that give light, that give hope. In doing so, the home becomes more than shelter. It becomes a sanctuary, a wellspring, a place where the invisible treasures of the heart are restored day by day.